This is the only person, as you know, Travis, that I am not embarrassed to interview while wearing a T-shirt with a giant picture of her face on it.
Yes.
Because I am an Uber fan, as you know, and as you know, this is not the only Maxine Waters T-shirt that I own. Last week, when they came after her, I wore my "Don't Test the Waters" T-shirt. Today, I am wearing "Reclaiming My Time" because it is time to say good morning to Representative Maxine Waters of the great state of California. Good morning, Representative.
Yay.
Good morning, and I am so impressed with you wearing that "Reclaiming My Time" T-shirt.
I'm not embarrassed to be because you know I geek out every time I see you, and I've seen you a lot in my life, and I still freak out because I am just you are a rock star, and thank you for being so fearless. It's particularly when they come after you and expect you to, you know, I loved your piece. You said, "I'm not new to this." You have been a civil rights warrior for years, right? I mean, it just, yeah.
Yeah, no. Thank you so very much for, you know, your support and understanding it. Yeah, we have a lot of naysayers and haters and all, but that does not deter me from doing what I need to do in order to try and bring about, you know, respect and justice for everybody.
Well,
that's my mission.
You said it best, Representative, on Twitter. You said if we take a knee, they're mad. If we speak up like I do, they're mad. If we protest like Martin Luther King Jr. taught us to do, they're mad. What is it they expect us to do when police keep killing us? And I mean, the thing that you focus, you know, that they focused on. You wrote about it in your piece. They asked you before the Chauvin verdict came out, what if we don't get a guilty verdict? What should protesters do? And you simply responded, we got to stay on the street. We've got to get more active. We've got to get more confrontational. You said confronting injustice has been my life's work. You said you never incited violence. You never meant that go be violent, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, I'm sure that, you know, the people who attacked me have no understanding or appreciation for the civil rights movement. But Martin Luther King created something called the C Project. The C Project was a project about confrontation. What is meant by confrontation? He didn't say violent confrontation. It was about sit-ins. It's about marching. It's about boycotting. It's about confronting injustice in a way that will get people to pay attention and hopefully to understand what you're saying, what you're struggling for, and why you are, you know, why you are taking time out to let everybody know what you believe is wrong with the justice system. And so I feel very comfortable with that.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, anyone that knows you and your history of you know, as a civil rights leader knows that you have never promoted violence. Let me tell you how you and I go back, because in your piece, I don't know if you know this, but in you referenced Daryl Gates. So I used to have an evening show on KFI radio here in Los Angeles. Guess who they fired so that I could get that slot? Daryl Gates. They fired Daryl Gates to hire me.
Oh, I didn't know he had that slot.
Yes, 7 to 9 p.m. on KFI. But so I remember this, Representative. You said, I'm sure there are many in Los Angeles who remember my confrontations with Daryl Gates, who was at the time the police chief. You said I challenged Gates on his department's use of the chokehold that killed far too many. I challenged him on his department's use of the battering ram, and of course the brutal police beating of Rodney King. I remember all that because
wow. Well, that's really where I got started here in L.A. when, I don't know if you remember the woman Eula Love that got killed. Yeah. Eula Love was on her front porch and she couldn't afford to pay her gas bill. And so the gas company, I guess in those days, called the police because she had a knife that she was, basically waving at them. And they came out, they killed her in front of her daughters. And Daryl Gates, of course, supported what the police had done. And I organized a bunch of women, and we got started to deal with Daryl Gates and that led me into confronting him on all kinds of issues related to targeting of particularly young black males, where they would make them lie on the ground, spread eagle in their best clothes. It did not matter. Where, again, there were any number of men who died from the chokehold, and he said it was something wrong with the carotid muscle in black people. That's what caused them to die. I mean,
Yeah.
it was awful.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So, yes,
I remember
I've
the program
Yeah.
director said he took Daryl Gates to dinner to fire him because he was scared, because he was a scary dude.
Oh, my God.
But
yeah,
But, you know,
going
it's
back a long way.
But
Yeah.
exactly. But Representative, it reminds me of why we need to pass the George Floyd Policing Act, because
That's
this
right.
stuff is still going on. You were talking about chokeholds and things killing people back then, and
That's right.
yeah,
That's right. And so we do have the act, and supposedly it's being negotiated informally, supposedly moving into more formalized negotiations any day now, with some of the same issues, as you said, the chokehold in particular, that I have been working on for years. And I'm just hopeful that it doesn't get watered down and so compromised that it is not doing what we needed to do. The Republicans don't want to do anything. They're being forced because of the attention of the George Floyd murder, and so they feel like they have to do something, but they don't want to really deal with discontinuing the chokehold or the no-knock law or the qualified immunity that we have in the bill. So let's see what their final offer is and what they're going to come up with.
Yeah.
I'm just hopeful that they will, do better, and
Yeah.
that they will understand the situation we're in this country. It is not good
yeah.
to continue to have these killings, and so
We can't get through one trial without being in the middle of another funeral, and on and on and on.
That's right. It keeps going on. I was there. Little Dante Wright was killed 20 years old, and then on top of that, the North Carolina man that was just shot down, and some of these shootings are in the back, and I don't get it. I just don't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop, Stephanie. I have to keep fighting for justice.
You better not. You better not. I made the mistake of, they asked me, would you like to come speak with Maxine at it was a church, I believe, in your district. Yeah. And they didn't tell me it was going to be after you spoke. And so good luck to anybody that says yes to that, because that was humiliating.
Well, thank you for giving time to these issues. It's so important to have some outlets and people who care enough to allocate time to those of us who are, doing what maybe is considered controversial, but we have to do it.
Well, it's exhausting. As you said, you tweeted, it's our unfortunate reality that driving while black, running while black, walking while black, bird watching while black, and quite frankly, doing anything that any other person could do, but doing it while black too often ends in death. And it's an exhausting cycle. Can I ask you about Representative Tim Scott? Because I know he's, I guess, on the Republican Senator, who is on their side, of course, working on the, trying to get something done. I want to get your reaction to this. He was going on from his comments the other night.
I personally understand the pain of being stopped 18 times driving while black. I also have seen the beauty of when officers go door to door with me on Christmas morning, delivering presents to kids in the most underserved communities. So I think I bring an equilibrium to the conversation. One of the reasons why I'm hopeful is because, in a way, this time, my friends on the left aren't looking for the issue. They're looking for a solution.
Okay. I mean, maybe we're into semantics now. Are we a racist country, or do we have a racist history? But how he can in one breath admit he's been stopped 18 times or 7 times in 1 year, even as a senator, and try to say there's no such thing as racism or whatever his point is, I don't really get. Do you?
He contradicts himself. And I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to, walk this line of saying he understands, but at the same time, he is a Republican, and he is a conservative Republican, and he's not going to, get them angry at him. He is more concerned about being, accepted and liked by the Republicans that he is by absolutely admitting the racism that is so prevalent in this country that's causing the deaths of so many innocent, unarmed people. It's unfortunate, but, I always wonder about him and those who act the way that he's acting, an African-American man who will admit that he's been stopped because of the color of his skin that many times and still, hang on to the Republican philosophy. And I just don't get it. I don't understand it. Sometimes I think it's out of fear. It's lack of respect for oneself and community, but it is puzzling. It is absolutely puzzling that he could, be in that space and, conclude that there is no racism.
Well, even in his response to the president's speech, he said, I went from cotton to Congress. I mean, isn't that saying my ancestors, right? My ancestors were owned by white people, but we don't live in a racist country. I mean, I think it is semantics. He said, I'm glad the president agreed with me. America isn't a racist country. But as the vice president said, we certainly have to confront our history of racism, right? I mean, I don't care how you put it, right? I mean...
Yeah, well, that kind of talk is the kind of talk that's acceptable to the people that he's aligned himself with. Talking about, going from cotton to Congress and that kind of language, it's okay with them. And so I think that he is not a free, person, that he is being counseled and he is being watched and he's been talked to. And I don't know. Like I said, it's puzzling that he could present himself that way, but he does. And so we recognize that's a problem.
So I got to get your take on this last story. Mitch McConnell goes cancel culture on slavery history in a fiery letter to the education secretary. He fired off a letter to the education sector demanding that federal grants not be given to schools developing updated civics and history curriculum, which he claimed would present a revisionist view of the nation's past. He's particularly incensed about changes that would include perspectives of the 1619 projects, which he said would introduce divisive, radical, and historically dubious buzzwords and propaganda into education. As you know, the 1619 projects addresses a massive void in colonial history education by examining the arrival of the first slave ship in 1619 as critical to America's founding, as well as to the nation's economy, wars, and racism. Mitch McConnell said Americans do not want or need their tax dollars diverted for promoting the principles that unite our nation toward promoting radical ideologies meant to divide us. Well, it just seems like it's the truthful history of the United States. How is that divisive? Right?
Well, the thing about it, until we confront it, until we deal with it, and until we, admit and acknowledge, I think it's going to be a problem. He is talking racist talk. I mean, and for him to deny the history, of this country and the role that, white supremacists have played and how it is systemic. It's in our laws. It's in our procedures, etc. I have to tell you this, and it's going to be controversial. He is a racist.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's no other way it's whitewashing slavery. That's what it's doing. It's.
Yes, and he uses the power of his office to pursue that kind of rejection of the truth and not wanting education to play any role in helping to unveil the truth of the history of this country that I think would be helpful to everybody.
Yeah. Representative, before you go, H.R. 1, I mean, it seems to me there is no other issue. There aren't any other issues if we don't get voting rights, particularly in the face of all these egregious voter suppression laws. What's your take on whether we're going to be able to get that done?
Well, these voter suppression laws that's pumping up in so many states are an attempt to take us backwards. It's poll tax by another name. It is, counting the jelly beans in a jar before you can register to vote. And so it is unseemly that they would have the audacity to brazenly deny, real participation in this democracy by, people of color, etc. But that brazenness is the kind of confrontation that everybody should be concerned about. Black people are not going to recede and go back and somehow not fight the system and not take advantage of the Constitution of the United States that says we have a right to vote and who supports that, based on the history of this country and how the Constitution was strengthened in order to deal with the fact that we were excluded. And so, we're not going to sit idly by and just allow it to happen. They may have the vote, but we will protest, we will organize, we will boycott, we will do what is necessary.
Yep. Listen, you marched beside me in the gay pride parade here in West Hollywood. I will march beside you proudly, always defend you from your right-wing detractors. I've made many mistakes, agreeing to speak after you at a church, challenging you to a dance-off at my house. One of my mistakes.
I want to tell you, I'll be glad when COVID-19 is conquered, because I want you to have another one of those beautiful, wonderful gatherings that you have at that wonderful home of yours. It is a great house in a great location, and I just love being there on more than one occasion.
My favorite picture is you and me and Lily Tomlin and Jane Wagner, knocking back, I'm going to say a couple. Couple. I'm going to go get a third Maxine Waters t-shirt, and you keep on keeping on for us. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate you so much.
You too. Always an honor. All right, there she goes.
Bye-bye.
Auntie Maxine.
Yay, Auntie Maxine. We did it. She's reclaiming her time.
Seriously, the only person I interview with a picture of her face on my t-shirt. I'm just like, I don't care. I love her so much.